Hi guys, welcome back to Cheney's TCG store. Today I have another Yu-Gi-Oh market watch for you. I apologize that haven't had one in a while. I was gone this past weekend, but I should be back at it for the coming weeks. But first card today is Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess. Of course, the original print, secret rare. I don't know what's going on with this card. I mean, I did figure this card would go up over time, but kind of out of nowhere, I was looking and the first editions kind of just got bought out and are pretty much on the moon. So starting off here, near mint unlimited is 50, which is crazy to me, but understandable. What's really crazy is there's only 2 pages total, and the lowest first edition is starting off at 70, which is actually lower than it was earlier when I checked. But then going to 85 for near mint first edition, and when I had checked early, it was like 90 to $100 for near mint first edition. So still pretty crazy. If you want to offload yours, I'd understand doing it. I personally want to hold on to mine, regardless of the price, because I do still play with it. But by all means, if you have extras, definitely look to sell some, especially if you have near mints that you can, offload for $80, $85. I think that's pretty good. You still have ultra rares that are available for like 28, which is still high, but again, we haven't had a reprint in a while. And then I think we have gold rares for around 20 to 25. Which I would stay clear of the gold rares if you can. Next is Torrent scale Starlight rare. So I think the last market watch we covered the secret rare and ultra rare version. And the last time I checked this card, it was around 200-ish, but seems like it's really bottoming out here. Lowest right now, 135 for lightly played first edition, going to 140 for near mint, and plenty of copies available at that near mint level, which is crazy to me. I do think this card should be around 175 to 200, so I do think it's a little undervalued currently. This card looks amazing. I actually have one personally, and I probably will want to pick up a playset, or I guess 2 more at some time in the future, especially if they dip down any lower. But definitely a good looking card, and I do think Phantom Knights are still very good. I've actually been kind of playing around with them just because you can run like Predator Plants in the deck, which are also level 3 by themselves, to search Fusion Destiny, which is also at 3 copies now. So if you just hard draw it, that's really good. I mean, obviously that's going to be ideal, but if you don't hard draw it and you draw your Scorpio, normal summon, special summon the Cobra from deck, which lets you search Fusion Destiny, and then bada bing, you have 2 level 3s with lots of other level 3 extenders, and of course your Phantom Knight engine, which is all level 3s. Really good. Moving on, I wanted to take a look at the buy steal pre-sale. So I guess on Thursday when we had the bonus bucks back Thursday morning, I went ahead and pre-ordered my entire set of BIS deals just because I know that I really want them. And since I am a subscriber, I did get 10% back. And I'm glad that I did, because at the time when I bought them, BIS deal Rebellion was, I guess, around $20 cheaper than it is now. It was like around the 50, I think it was 58, 59, something like that. And I didn't pick up Alba Los just because I'm not playing this card, and I don't know who really would. I guess it depends on what version of the deck you're playing, but I think that this is going to probably end up being like $3. Magnamoots up to 750. I think these were $5 on Thursday. These will calm down for sure, but I do think that this will maintain at least a $4 price point, because again, if you're lucky, you're getting 1 per box, and it's a 3 of, and a lot of people are going to be playing around with this engine. Everything else, I think $1 $2 is fair. So if you want to go ahead and pre-order them, it's fine. And then keep in mind, you also need your continuous spell and trap, which are also $1.50 to $2. Those you can wait on, because those are played at 1 copy. I don't expect those to be more than $1.50, or they'll probably be around $1 most likely. Moving on, let's see what the next card is. We've got Visa Starfrost. So I pulled this up because it's up quite a bit in price. I think the secret rare and ultra rare are kind of similar in price. Personally have the secret rares, and I'm going to look to offload them just because I don't think this card will end up seeing that much play. I think there will still be teal mint players that will, play this card at 1 or 2 copies or try it out. But I don't think it's going to be the dominant form of the deck, in my opinion. Could be wrong again, but I don't think it's worth 17. I think the correct price point for this card was more like 8 to 10. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna take the free money and get rid of it and pick it up sometime in the future if I still want it. If not, I probably won't. Next is Kitchen Dragon Maid. I'm not going to cover all the Dragon Maids today, just this one because this is the only one that I've seen movement in today. If you remember when I was going through all the Dragon Maid cards, this one was the only one not moving and was kind of sticking around the $20 to $21 mark. But these did push up. It actually looks like they calmed down a little bit because when I looked yesterday, they were going for like the 27, 28 range, and now they're back down to 25. But then pushing back up towards 29, not surprisingly. I do kind of don't think this card will see play just because the so far the different deck lists that I've seen that are like the most competitive don't play Kitchen Dragon Maid whatsoever. But I actually kind of want to play this card. And at least the builds that I played around with, this card's a good consistency card. And I also, like with my Bestial Dragon Maid deck, a large emphasis, my God, on the deck is getting out Dragon Maid Xiao, because that card's so good. And really the only point of even playing Dragon Maid with Bestial versus Dragon Link is to get Xiao out, because that's going to snowball all of your plays further down the line. So when I've seen matchups online where people are just playing the 3 Nurse and 3 Chambers with like 1 changeover, it just ends up being them playing Bestial. Like you're not really getting any bonus from Dragon Maids other than just getting your tidying, which just gives you 1 pop. But you're not being able to utilize your House Dragon Maid or your Dragon Maid Shell. So I kind of think that you would rather just play Dragon Link at that point. That's what I think personally. So I think you should try to maximize a little bit more on Dragon Maid cards. Next is Stardust Dragon. So I pulled up kind of all the high rarity versions here. I noticed that the Starlight rares like completely bought out. This was going for around 550, I think, when I talked about getting this card. And now it's like lowest is, well, actually you do have, I think, a graded one here for 800. Let me see real quick. I don't even know if I know what AGS is. What is that? Okay, well, I've never heard of AGS, but I suppose 800's fair considering the next one's 900, and this looks pretty centered overall. Let me know if you know what AGS is, but I've literally never heard of this company. I'm familiar with BGS and of course, what's the other one now? I can't remember it. The main one, I can't remember it. I don't really care too much about grading. I don't know if I've like ever like really spoken to like grading card, like getting graded cards. I don't think it's bad, but personally I like to play with a lot of the cards that I collect, especially something like this where I play an older format deck. So to me it seems, I don't know, counterintuitive for what I want with my collection. There are cards that I just have sitting in a binder that I'm not going to play, but at the same time I like, there's not really a good way to store like a graded card unless you have a bunch of them and you just have like a dedicated box. But I feel like having like 1 or 2 graded cards kind of gets awkward. Stardust Dragon for the Ghost Rare is, you know, mod play starting off at 140 here. I actually think now that the Starlight rares are bought out, you probably should turn your head towards some of the other versions. Unfortunately, Ghost Rare First Edition is going to be $2,000. So I'll just put that out there. And the reason is it's from the Duelist Genesis. And if you remember, like they didn't really like mass produce First Edition boxes of this card. I'm pretty sure it was just like in special edition boxes or like limited releases, I think, or like sneak previews where they handed out the first editions. I don't think you could actually buy a first edition box of the Duelist Genesis. It came in unlim, which is why I don't really have a problem with buying unlimited like Duelist Genesis personally, because the boxes were unlimited. I believe, I could be wrong. But mod play, like I said, like 175, which is I think pretty fair. And light play is going to be 206. I think that's honestly like a really good deal for this card. And then we'll just keep going here. I'm not going to go near mints because I've already looked at them and I can just tell you it's starting at 2K for lightly played. But I am curious for near mint unlimited. Let's see. Okay, so it goes up quite a bit, probably like around 3 to 400, 350 lowest here for near mint unlimited. To be honest with you, for ghost rares, like specifically old ghost rares, I would not recommend going near mint because they're still going to have scratches on them. Like I think most honest sellers will sell old ghost rares as lightly played just because it's like almost impossible to have a near mint like old ghost rare. Like even if you like look at pulling them right out of the pack, they're just liable to scratch. So the odds of like buying a near mint and actually getting like a PSA, there it is, PSA 8 or higher is pretty low, I'd imagine. But yeah, I guess we will take a look real quick for the first editions just so I can I guess prove it. But it is I think around 2K. Mod play first edition 985. Quickly going up, and then lightly played like I said 2000, and then near mint 3000. And if you're going to go for a first edition, I wouldn't order it on TCG Player. I would go somewhere else and see if you can find it, or go on Facebook and see if anybody has them that wants to cut a deal on it. And if I was going to spend 2K on a card, which I wouldn't, I would want to see it in person to make sure. I don't trust people that much. There is also the ultimate rare, which is going for around like 80 to 100 for near mint unlimited, and then I think it is like 350 for the first edition. I think starting, so I think it's pretty expensive, maybe even 500, which people didn't like originally like that version. As far as a collector rare, I would stay away from it. I just think it's like the worst high rarity version to get. I would, if I was going to like get a high rarity version of Stardust Dragon and I didn't want to get either the original ultimate rare or ghost rare or Starlight rare, I would go for just the original print ultra rare at this point. Next is 1-for-1. So I just wanted to highlight this because this has been bought out in the past. Not like all the way bought out, but like $15+ for like the ultra rares. And this card is quite old now, but it's just a good generic card that's good in a lot of decks. It's probably decent in Drytron. It's decent in Tri-Brigade. Trying to think of other decks that it's good in. I mean, it's good in plenty of decks. Like any deck that has like really powerful level 1 monsters, it's just going to be really good. But right now, the ultra rares from Legendary Collection 5D, 765 near mint, 2 copies. That's really good, and that quickly goes up towards like 9 to 10. And then for the Adventure Calendar 2019, these are at $10. Yeah, skip that version. Just go straight for the Legendary Collection 5D. It's not worth spending more to get a 2019 version of the card. And other than that, all you have are commons and I guess a rare here from Raging Battle. Rare is probably not a bad version to get. I think I have some rares actually. And a rare from Duels Pack, you say. There is a super rare. I don't know why it's not showing up. I might have like the first edition filter on. I do. Let's see. So the super rare from the 2010 pack, I'm not going to click onto it. It's not worth it. But the market price is $12. I would also not go for that unless you're just a really big fan of super rares. I would again stick with 5Ds. Next is Striker Dragon. So I think the last time I talked about this, it was going for around $1, but I think as time has progressed, especially since we do have Darkwing Blast coming out on Friday, I think people were like kind of at the start, like Dragon Link was like, and I guess Dragon Maid were like pure speculation on whether they would be good in this coming format with like Bestial. But I think people are kind of in agreement that it's going to be one of the strongest decks, especially the period before we get Magnificent Mavens, before like the Shizu cards come out. At least from what I've seen from other people doing videos on YouTube, like they're putting it in the top 5, top 10 decks, or whatever. So I think that more and more people are starting to pick up these dragon cards, which makes sense. A lot of people love dragons, including me. But these are up to $2 for the Prismatic Secret rares, which is still not too bad for this card. It's still a 1 copy, but the market price is showing at $3. But I guess the shipping is like around $1 on these copies. Ultra rare are $2 as well, and then you can get rares for 40 cents if you want to go budget, if you want to build a deck. Unfortunately, the Bestial cards are gonna be pretty expensive. I think that Lubellion will probably stay on top of the set when Darkwing Blast comes out, just because it is a 3 of and the decks that are playing it. But as far as Dragon Link, if they're, I guess like the only card I think that isn't like completely overpriced at this point that could still go up in value in a week or two, I would say is Quick Launch, because it's still around the same price it was when I picked them up a couple months ago. I think, you know, the reprint secret rares were still 5 and these were around 7 to 9. These might have pushed up just a tiny bit, but these are played at 3 copies in pretty much any version of Dragon Link that you can think of. It's just a free special summon from your deck, which is always good. So there's just not a case where you would play Dragon Link and not play Quick Launch at least 2 copies. But I think if you're a decent pilot of the deck, you're going to play 3 copies of this card. And the other thing is too, the cheapest version is, you know, $2 to $3. These are some of the cheaper copies, but I have seen this recently at like $3.50 lowest, which doesn't make sense because again, you have a secret rare that looks really good for $5. So not too late to pick these up if you want them. Just wanted to point that out really quick. Moving on, I wanted to talk about Effect Failure, just because I always do talk about hand traps whenever they kind of phase out of the format. I do think Effect Failure will be, I don't know, it won't be seeing as much play as we, I guess, go on through the next month or two, especially when we get like a Shizu and stuff, because I think Tearlaments will be, you know, dominant, like 40 to 50% of the, you know, topping decks at least. And with that said, Effect Failure is just one of the worst cards you can play against Tearlaments, in my opinion, just because their on-field effects don't really matter. You want to stop their graveyard effects. I think personally, I'm going to be taking out my Effect Failures and putting in Ghost Spells, just because it's going to be a lot more impactful. But the prices have started coming down on Effect Failures, and some of the versions I would look out for, I mean, the top end is not really going to budge. I don't think Ultimate Rares or Starlight Rares are really going to budge at all. But the original prints, I would, if you can get these lightly played or near mint first editions between, you know, 18 and 25, I would do it. Right now, it's still a little bit too high. The funny thing about Effect Failure, the original print, is I remember probably about a year ago at this point, where I was in like the Yu-Gi-Oh buyout group, like on Facebook, and lightly played Effect Failures for first edition coming out of Duelist Revolution were $13 to $15. And near mints were like 18. And I wrote a post about this is a good pickup. And people laughed at me, saying that there had already been several attempted buyouts on this card that had never stuck. But you know, I guess I'm laughing now because I did buy this card and sold them when these were, I think I sold them for like 40, $50 a piece, which is crazy. It's gone back down now, but still pretty high. I think the unlims are a little bit more affordable now, like than they have been in the last, like, I guess 6 months, but still pretty high as well. I think unlims at the time were going for like $7 or $8. Gold rares I would stay away from. Actually, this is going to be controversial. I don't not like the platinum rares. I think that would actually look kind of cool, and that's probably the only platinum rare that I would ever buy. But they're down in price too, like $10 to $15. Duelist Saga, I think, is actually a really good version to go ahead and pick up now at $6.50. I think it might go down a little bit lower towards like $4.50 or $5 if it completely phases out of the format, but it's already on its way out now, and I think $6.50 is perfectly fair. Super rares, you know, $4 to $5 are fine. Dual Devastator is always good to pick up, you know, under $3, because whenever, like, I guess any of the Ghost Girls or hand traps in general that are in Dual Devastator, whenever that hand trap comes back into the format, people just automatically pick up the Dual Devastator without looking at the other versions, because they assume that it's going to be the lowest priced holo version, which is probably not a bad assumption, but I've seen the Dual Devastator Ultra Rares move a lot quicker than some of the other, you know, holo copies, which is, you know, crazy, but I guess I understand it. I guess that's it. You have commons. There's plenty of commons that you can pick up that are all, $1.50, but specifically the commons, like unless you can get them for 50 or 60 cents, I wouldn't touch them right now, just because I do think that Effect Veiler is going to stop seeing play here shortly. For a while, it's always going to come back. Don't get me wrong. Next is Called by the Grave, and makes sense. Like, I think everybody should be playing this card, even though it's only at one copy. When you do see this card, it's just super powerful, being able to stop any hand traps that are discarded to the grave. But also, if you just draw this later in the game, being able to, or even going first and you don't see a hand trap, being able to set this and flip it on tier limits is really, really good. Gets a resource out of the graveyard while also negating it where they can't use it on the field or on the grave for the rest of the turn, or the next turn, which is really nice. But yeah, some of the other copies aren't up as much as the secret rare, because I think the last time I looked at the secret rare, it was down towards like $6 or $7, not too long ago. But yeah, if you have a bunch of extra of these, you might want to consider offloading them, just because it is at one copy and I don't see it coming back to 3 like anytime soon. I think I have like a couple of play sets of the secret rares when I picked them up when they like at first got limited, but just something to keep in mind. It could go up more as well. I guess it depends on how good tier limits are, because more and more people are going to need this card if they don't have it already. You have plenty of cheap copies available, commons and rares. And of course, the common that was in Albaz Strike, I forgot that was in there. But those are going for $1 now as well. I could see this card going up to a couple dollars, but nothing crazy. I guess that is going to be all for today. Let me know if there's any cards that you notice moving or are really low in price right now that you should be looking at, or you want me to take a look at. But yeah, I guess that's going to be all. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye.